Howdy, folks. Welcome back or welcome aboard. You have just joined the Doc Owen Show, and we are glad to have you. Yes, we started a little bit early tonight in a celebration of the North Carolina Alcoholics Anonymous basketball tournament.
Maybe not.
That's not what it stands for?
Oh, goodness. Good.
That's the only thing I could figure out to stand. You know me, I like to solve acronyms.
Good for you.
So,
Hey,
it's a way to remember what it is.
what floats your boat?
We are glad you're here, and we're going to talk fast so we can finish early.
Not.
Boy, he's full
Okay.
of whim tonight.
If you hear the sound of a text message coming in the background, that will be good news because the hot water heater has gone out in the Doc Owen studios.
Yeah.
And we're expecting a text from a plumber friend that we hope will stop by and fix it up. At any rate, this is the Doc Owen Show. My name is Dr. Richard Owen. I am joined in the Hilltop Studios by...
I'm a surefire.
And...
Uncle Bocce.
Full house, ready to rock and roll. The title of tonight's show is Budgets and Other Bull Sugar. And we're going to get into today's, quote, budget, end quote, discussions as kind of the theme of the thing, and we'll see where it goes, along with some other stuff that's been going on the national basis. We're going to shift away. The last few have kind of been San Antonio focused with an eye to the fact that you need to be paying attention no matter where you are to your local elections and your local environment and your local politicians, because that's where it all starts. All of these guys that are, they work their way up, but they start at a local level. And it's a scientifically proven fact that incumbents have a 90% probability of winning the election. So once they get in, they stay in. That's part of the issue. So if they start locally and continue to work their way up, all they got to do is, win that next seat the first time, and they're on their way. So the place to nip things in the bud, as we say in Texas, is on the local level, which is very difficult to do, sometimes very difficult, because you have nowadays you have outside forces bringing in tons of money.
That's right.
Local elections back in the day, there were no party affiliations. There was no such thing as a Republican or a Democrat or anything else in terms of city council elections or mayors, or we had no idea which way they were leaning. Nowadays, it's completely unfiltered. But I would imagine there's probably a Republican and a Democrat on the ledger for dog catcher.
Probably.
And the Democrat lets them all go. Rump bump. We always begin the show. Oh, before we do that, I got to talk about our social media, do our self-advertising. We are all over social media as Doc Owen Show, DOCOWENSHOW. We've been getting a very large number of visits to our Facebook page, and I would appreciate it if you'd like it and or follow us out there so we can, build up that following. In addition, we have a blog conveniently named thedocowenshow.com, DOCOWENSHOW.com. And in the upper right-hand corner of that is where you can sign up for our intermittent but highly entertaining, when it does go out, little blast that, we're going to be on the air and who our guest is going to be if we have a special guest. We do not have a guest tonight because we couldn't find anybody that would talk fast enough for us to finish early. So, and we got a big ball game tonight. Can you tell that I'm an NCAA tournament fan?
Maybe just a little.
Just a little. What else do we tell them? Our apps. We have free apps free FREE apps for both iPhone and Android, and our entire collection is out there. That Y5.28 at the front of the name of the show is Year 5, episode number 28. So you'll understand that there's a lot of information out there that you can go back and gather, et cetera, et cetera. We all after that little self-advertising routine, we do begin the show in a very traditional manner, and that is Ms. Surefire starts off with a moment of inspiration, a quote that she's found. Uncle Bocce gives us something about this day in history, and then I finish it out with a leadership quote or something from the Optimist Club to kind of round it out, and then we'll dive into it. Ms. Surefire, take it away.
And tonight's quote comes from PassItOn.com. I've been getting a lot of quotes from there.
Yep.
And tonight's quote comes from a lady by the name of Vivian Green. She is an American singer and songwriter.
Okay.
Her name didn't sound too familiar to me, but
No.
her quote is, "Life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain."
Whoa. Mm-hmm. Like, what's his name?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Singing in the rain.
Oh, okay.
I love that. It's one of my favorite little clips.
Okay. Well, at any point during the show that you think of his name, just blurt it out and we'll know what you're talking about. Okay.
You get it. Mm-hmm.
What do you got in history?
Today.
Gene Kelly.
That's it. Right. Gene
there
Kelly.
you go.
I always think of, when I think of dancing, I think of Fred Astaire, and then that blocks everything else in my
Right.
mind.
No, Gene Kelly.
No, it's Gene Kelly. That's right. Okay. Yes, in 1765, the notorious Stamp Act was imposed on America. We've talked about
1765. Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and that Stamp Act was more or less a tax on any kind of paper goods, even newspapers, and they had to buy the stamp, which was the tax.
Oh, I thought it's
And
when they.
everything everything that was published had to have that stamp on it.
I thought it's when they went from 1 cent to 2 cent, and everybody was complaining about doubling the rate of a postage stamp.
Yeah, wow.
Oh, what did I know?
Well, what do you know is right.
Okay.
Okay, and then in 1947,
Wait, I probably remember this one. Go
yeah,
ahead.
you should. Mr. Truman ordered loyalty checks for federal employees because remember this was the start of fearing.
WW2 and the Japanese.
Yeah, and well, not so much the Japanese, but communists.
Yep.
The Russian,
Yeah.
in
We had,
Soviet
by
Union.
47, we had already rounded up all the Japanese.
Yeah, that's right. So, that's what happened on this day,
In 1947.
1947.
Loyalty checks.
Yes,
Maybe we should
Not
do that
royalty,
again.
but loyalty.
loyalty. Yes.
And in keeping with tonight's theme of budgets, this is from Ralph Waldo Emerson.
I remember him.
The greatest man in history was the poorest.
Greatest.
Man in history was the poorest.
Is that
Wow.
Jesus?
Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Jesus.
Ah, yeah.
That's what came to my mind right away was Jesus.
That's exactly right.
Really?
Yeah.
Our federal,
I was thinking,
our
that-
our
Daddy
elected
Starbucks.
federal officials could take a lesson from that.
they sure can, but
All
they
right.
won't.
Well, no, they won't. Before we get into all of that, it's time for Uncle Bocce to walk us through the presidency of
James Buchanan.
James Buchanan. Okay,
Yes, he was the 15th president.
man, we're trudging through this.
Yes, we are.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so James Buchanan, he was educated at Dixon College, located in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. His full name was James Buchanan Jr. He had several nicknames. Some people like to call him Old Public Functionary. And that was used by Buchanan in his December 1859 State of the Union address.
They called him Old
Public Functionary. So
is that complimentary?
Well, he said it, so it must have been.
Okay.
Another one was, and derived from that too, they called him Old Buck. That wasn't one of his, because of his last name, Buchanan Buck.
Get it? Yeah.
And he was also, he was also called the Bachelor President because he was the only president who served without a wife, without a first lady.
Really? The entire time?
That's right. He was engaged to be married, but on the day before the marriage, she called it off.
Oh.
Yeah, so he was left. And also they call him 10-cent Jimmy.
Now we know why she called it off.
I was going to say, does that mean he was a cheapskate?
The reason why they called him that is because in one of his campaign speeches, he said, very boldly, 10 cents a day was decent pay for a worker. Can you imagine that?
Man.
Try to get by that today.
Whew. You can't even get out the door with 10 cents.
Right. He was from Pennsylvania, and to note, he was the only president elected from Pennsylvania. He's a Democrat. At the time he went into office, he was 65 years old. He was 6 feet high. He was a Presbyterian. He was born in Cove Gap, Pennsylvania, and he was the last of all the presidents who actually was born in the late 1700s or the 18th century.
Okay.
Okay, so he has that. He died of respiratory failure at the age of 77, and his resting place is in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Where else would it be? It's called Wood Hill Cemetery in Lancaster. Let's see. He had no children, of course. He was in office from March 4th of 1857 until March 4th, 1861. So he only served one term.
There's a lot of that going on back then, wasn't there?
Yeah, the last several of them have all been one-term presidents.
Yeah.
The Democrat Party back then was fickle. They didn't like their presidents not towing the line like the Democrats do today.
So they adjusted
their party policy and got rid of them. Okay, $25,000 was the salary, which is $650,000 in today's.
Right.
Now there are several distinctions that Buchanan holds as president. First, he was the only president who was single. Like I said, his niece, whose name was Harriet Rebecca Lane Johnson. She was the one who filled all of the ceremonial things, that the first lady would. Okay. Second, Buchanan, again, the only president from Pennsylvania. He was the nation. I already said this. He was already the last one born in the 1800s or 18th century, and his presidency was the last before the outbreak of the Civil War. Okay. He held a few other offices. He was member of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives, the U.S. House of Representatives. He was minister to Russia for a few years. Was a United States senator. He was the Secretary of State under Polk. Okay. And he was also, at the time he was elected, he was also minister to England. And again, he had no
minister
first
to
lady.
England, like what we today call an ambassador.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they call them ministers back then.
Okay.
And the State of the Union was not called the State of the Union until the 1940s. Actually, back then they called it the annual message. No, it's prescribed in the Constitution, but the Constitution doesn't give it a name. So.
Right.
Okay, so during the campaign, you remember this guy, Stephen A. Douglas? He was the guy who wanted the Democratic nomination, okay, in 1856. But his reputation had been badly tarnished because of the ongoing violence in Kansas. Remember, we were talking about the blood flowed in Kansas because of the compromise and all of that, the Kansas issue. The Republicans actually ran their first presidential campaign in 1856, presidential campaign. Okay, and they chose a Western explorer named John C. Fremont, who was from California. I wonder if Fremont, California.
I thought of that.
Huh? Yeah,
Fremont, California.
Yeah. So he was the pathfinder. He had no political record, which at that time was considered a plus. But he did hold abolitionist views.
Okay, I zoned out for a minute. Was this Buchanan's?
This is the guy who ran against him.
Okay.
Yeah, the Republican who ran against him.
Okay.
Okay. There was also the American Party, which is, remember the Know Nothing Party?
Yeah.
Well, our good old friend Millard Fillmore had to try one more time, and he ran against them too.
He's a perfect name, Know Nothing candidate.
Absolutely. So the Republicans ran a campaign calling for repeal of the Kansas-Nebraska Act because it was causing bloodshed. But it was the Republicans who were against that. Because it gave the extension of slavery into territories, which a lot of the Republicans were definitely anti-slavery.
Right.
They also took the opportunity to blame Democrats for the honors of bleeding Kansas. Okay, now the campaign. Of course, Buchanan emerged as the victor, but he failed to gain a majority of the popular vote. In fact, the shift of a few number of votes, it would have gone the other way. He did win. He won out of 296 electoral votes. He got 174.
Wow.
His closest competitor was John Fremont, the Republican, at 114. It was the popular vote that was very close.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but that's it seems like that's the first close vote that we've had in quite a while, if ever. Okay.
Yeah, that's 60
if I
vote
remember
difference.
correctly.
And Fillmore brought in 8. So it was a total of 296. Okay. His cabinet, he did not add anyone to the cabinet. So he had his Secretary of State and Treasury and all of that. I'm just looking down here to see if there's a name that we would even... No, nobody. We don't know any of them. Okay? 3 states joined the Union during his 4-year period.
That's pretty good.
One was Minnesota, May 11th, 1858. Oregon, February 14th, 1849. And Kansas, January 29th, 1861, near the end of his pregnancy. So they became the 32nd, the 33rd, and the 34th.
Did we? Do you know? I mean, Oregon. That strikes me as unique. I mean, California's already out there.
Yes,
they're a state. So Oregon, but there's territories in between that gap of New Mexico, Arizona, Idaho, all of that stuff. They're not states yet, are they?
No.
Okay.
No,
so.
they're still territories.
So we jumped over that part and went to the coast and then kind of work. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to get a clear picture.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because it was called the Oregon Territory, but they split Oregon out as a state and left Washington on its own. So he had a few court appointments. He nominated a total of 8 federal judges. One of them was a Supreme Court justice.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Another one that he nominated for Supreme Court was rejected by the Senate.
Okay.
Okay. So he had 1 Supreme Court and 8 federal judges. And as I look at the names, none of them would be familiar to us.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's it for James Buchanan tonight. Yeah, it's a short one. Well, he's,
One-termer, huh?
Yeah,
You
one-termer. But next week,
You want to finish him off?
I don't have my notes with me to finish them off. Otherwise, I would because, well, there's some interesting things in part 2 that you're going to want to
Oh, okay.
You're going to leave us
Understand.
hanging like a soap opera.
I'm
huh?
going to leave you hanging.
Yeah.
I will tell you this, just give you a clue, okay? He is considered by historians and others who have written about him as the worst president that ever served. And we'll learn a little bit about it next week, but why he's considered the worst.
That had to have been written before 2008.
Yes.
I was gonna
Yes.
say, he's in some company there.
Yeah.
for being the
Yeah.
worst.
That vote
Yeah.
had to be before 2008.
Yeah, but see, the difference is 2008, there was a president who wanted to damage the U.S. Buchanan did not want to damage the U.S. He was just inept. He just wasn't. He wasn't a good president.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
am I finished
I don't
for
know.
tonight?
You tell us. Who are you?
Who are you?
I am Uncle Bocci, UNCLEBACI, one word, at DocOwenShow.com.
Well,
Check out the blog, folks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good stuff out there, and I'm putting more.
Thank you, Uncle Bob.
Yeah, it may see a lot of input over the weekend. It's supposed to rain, and Uncle Bocce won't be able to get out in the garden, so he'll probably be inside
Hey,
plinking around on his computer.
no, I posted about 4 or 5
Did you?
in this past week, even though the weather was beautiful.
Wow.
You go.
So, yeah.
Smoking.
The good weather encourages me to do things.
For those of you that were with us at the beginning of the show, I did get the text, and the plumber is on his way. So I know that had you hanging on the edge of your seat, making sure that the Hilltop Studios had hot water.
Especially me.
So let's talk about, if it's okay with you two, and okay with the audience. There was a lot of noise today. There has been some noise in the past, but there was a lot of noise today about the federal, quote, budget, unquote. And I'm going to tell you why I'm putting that in quotes, because they're referring to it as a budget. First of all, it's only good for 6 months. It's what is called a continuing resolution. In other words, all they've done is agreed not to shut down the federal government, to continue to spend on that bloated piece of crap called Washington, D.C., and all the bureaucracies that span all over the United States from there. They've agreed not to shut those down. Don't do us any favors, folks.
All right.
Shut it down.
And they didn't shut down sequestration either.
So they got, they decided to keep it open on our dime. And from what I understand, and I have not been scholastically engaged to dive into the minutia of it, because I'm more of a firm believer in worrying about things that I can change, local elections, than I am worrying about my input into the budget process, which is nil. Right? Mm-hmm. But the minute I heard that the two leading people in Congress, Nancy Pelosi in the House and Charles Schumer in the Senate, both of them well-known Democrats, think that the budget that passed is great.
Oh, they're tickled about it.
Well, then
they got everything they wanted,
Then it has,
and then some.
And the deal was that we have to work with these idiots up there think we have to work with the Democrats.
Mm-hmm. That's
and
right.
I've forgotten which congressman it was. I think it was
Gowdy.
No. But I can see his face. He's of the same ilk that Gowdy is, and he and Gowdy
Mike Lee?
and Noon.
Not Mike, no, he's a senator.
Anyway, just came unglued at the fact of why do we have to work with the Democrats?
Yeah.
We have a Republican-controlled House, we have a Republican-controlled Senate, and then we have a Republican as the president in charge of the administration. Who said we have to work with Democrats? Elections have consequences.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
We voted these people into office with specific instructions, and he said this. I'm not saying this. the congressman. I'll think of his name in a minute. He was the one that said
Louis Gohmert?
No, he was the one that said, they sent us up here with specific instructions to do things, and we've not done them. We sent them there to defund Planned Parenthood. In other words, these were all parts of their campaign promises. And they make campaign promises. And we say, okay, we like your program.
This is what we want.
Go to Washington and do that. And they go to Washington and go,
all of a sudden,
I don't want to fight about it. Okay.
Yeah, they lose their cojones.
Do it your way.
No courage.
It's okay.
Yeah.
What a bunch of wimps.
You're pulling
So,
a McManus.
Bull sugar. It's bull sugar.
They
yes.
didn't get any funding for the wall, or very, very little funding for the wall. However, like you said, they kept a large amount of funding for Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
Go figure, folks. Why? Where does this make sense to anybody? Anybody, besides Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Was it Paul Ryan who said all that? I know.
Think about that.
I know. That was a dumb question. Excuse me, listeners.
He's Nancy Pelosi's brother-in-law, I think.
Oh, man.
He's a Republican in name only.
They got the same kind of looking ears, maybe.
But a total of $1.3 trillion borrowed
In 6 months.
in 6 months.
Yeah, in 6 months. That's just 6 months worth of... So 6 months from now, we're going to have to worry about the government closing down again.
I bet Trump is just fit to be tired about all that.
He doesn't.
Well,
he's being
if
awfully
he is.
quiet about it.
He is.
But he's being
It's when
off.
you're quiet,
He's
you gotta
being
watch out.
uncharacteristically quiet.
And I'm
That's
hoping that
scary.
he's going to veto the whole thing.
You know,
It's too much money.
well, but the art of the deal.
You got to give something to get something, right?
Well, there's all kinds of. Yeah, who knows? It's not exactly a normal environment up there, right?
No,
Anything but normal.
it's the new Hollywood.
I want to read you something. I'm looking it up.
Yeah, they play by an entirely different tune in Washington D.C. That's why I can't. I'd like to bring up a subject here while he's looking for that. In our day and age, with all the technology that we have, why does the House of Representatives have to meet in Washington? Why can't they be home, working at home, where we have access to them and we can influence them? Now, they can go to Washington to do their meetings and whatever, but they can do that on the computer. So why the heck are they still staying way up there?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, bring them home.
You don't seem to understand.
Of course I don't. The Democrats wouldn't want that.
No, it's got nothing to do with that.
What?
They live there.
Then they have. Then they're no longer.
They do. That's
I understand that, but they also have a home somewhere else.
no, yeah, but
The
but
people
there's no,
where they
there's no-
they represent.
There's no furniture in it. It just has a bar and glasses, and they entertain when they're in the neighborhood. They don't live there. They live in Washington. Their
Yeah.
children go to school in Washington.
Yeah, I know.
That's part of the problem. They settled in.
Yeah,
They shouldn't be allowed to.
No,
They should live in
be.
a dormitory that's attached to the congressional building.
I remember you
Now
saying
you know
that.
that's not a bad idea. I'd like
been
that
saying
better.
I've been saying that for
Have
45
you?
years. Yes.
Yeah. Well, see, I want to bring them home because I want them to be in my neighborhood.
I agree with you that their home should be in their district. That's where their family should be. That's where their home should be here. And when they're up there working, they should be living in a dormitory attached to the building.
That's good.
And eating in the company cafeteria.
I like that.
Well,
Short of bringing them home, I'll
I mean,
vote for that.
Really, you have the three of us and the entirety of our listening audience probably has no true concept of how elegantly these people live.
Oh, I have.
How well protected they are.
And they
They
always
don't
be-
have to drive.
That's right.
They have 3 to 5 people around them with guns at all times. I mean, they are like, if not kings and queens,
No, you know what
certainly prince and princesses.
No.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I was thinking? You're sounding a lot like how people are in the mafia.
What?
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and they all become very wealthy.
That McCabe,
Where does that come from?
that McCabe character that just got fired.
Yeah.
You know what he's worth? He's whining about his pension.
His pension?
You know what he's worth?
He doesn't need his pension.
He
Yeah.
worked for the FBI for 25 years. Do you know? You haven't answered my question. Do you know what
no,
he's worth?
I know it's a lot. I just don't know what the number is.
$11 million.
11 million. Can you imagine that?
Which is chicken feed, but it's $11 million after working for the FBI for 25 years. What am I missing here?
That's our money.
What am I missing?
That's crazy.
Yeah. No, it's
I saw an alternate news channel that I trust implicitly because
Okay.
they've always been right.
America first.
There was a fella talking about one of the ways that Obama got a lot of money. He had a financial advisor that started an investment fund, and he was focused on, quote, highly regulated industries. Okay.
Go figure. Go ahead.
For instance, his clients, when there came a new regulation that, and it was just a regulation, didn't have to pass Congress or anything. The administration said that they were no longer going to allow GI education funding to go to Phoenix University. Phoenix, the online university.
University of Phoenix.
University of Phoenix. Their stock went from $100 a share to $3. Gobble, 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 buy stock, buy stock, buy stock. Obama, less than 30 days later, said, yeah, you know, that was not that good an idea. But we're going to open it back up. Stock goes back to 100. That's just
And everybody
one,
and so many people
just-
love this man.
That's just
Obama.
one example.
Yeah,
But
but it's not only Democrats.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
not, but that's just one example of how the machine works.
Works to their
against
benefit.
us, to their benefit.
That's right. What was the last thing that they did that benefited us? The tax break, maybe? But that's recent.
Resign.
Yeah. Kind of hard to muster up here.
The other quote I was going to use tonight is poverty is the stepmother of genius.
Oh, really? The stepmother.
The stepmother
Well,
of genius.
yeah. Yeah.
You gotta
Oh, that
fig-
makes sense.
You got to figure out a way.
You got to figure
to
out.
eat.
Yep. Unless the government provides you with that.
Well, no, I'm just saying that
I know,
an
but-
austerity diet for these young men and women would be a good idea.
Yeah. Was it Chuck Schumer or Nancy Pelosi said the era of austerity has come to an end?
That was Schumer.
For this stupid omnibus bill that they passed.
That was Schumer.
Can you imagine the audacity?
Keep going.
Crazy.
We're $21 trillion national debt, and yet he thinks that we've been in austerity. I mean, the man he's mad,
Yeah, that's for sure.
you know?
Okay, let me read you something that I wrote this morning.
Uh-oh.
Okay. It's a good friend of mine, a very, very good friend of mine, has been on a rampage lately about Donald Trump and what a lousy POS he is, and he's embarrassing, and this, I mean, really, really just over the top with Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh,
All right.
Jesus.
And as he put it in one of his emails, that he's a staunch Republican, and blah 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 blah.
Well,
Okay.
there goes the problem.
Well, here's my response. We hold opposite. I wish I could see what he said before. Oh, wait. Hold on. Oh, it started with John Brennan's tweet after McCabe had been fired.
Another liar.
Okay.
Yeah.
When the full extent of you, and this was Brennan's tweet at Trump, when the full extent of your venality, moral turpitude, and political corruption becomes known, you will take your rightful place as a disgraced demagogue on the dustbin of history. You may scapegoat Andy McCabe, but you will not destroy America. America will triumph over you. Okay? That's what started this round of conversations with my friend of mine. And he said, he forwarded that to me, and his quote, the subject line was, "Spoken like a true American." So I thought you might like to hear my response.
I would love to.
We hold opposite views of Republicans. I don't like nor trust and rarely support, quote, true Republicans, unquote. Party politics make me sick. I have tried too many times to get involved and just cannot stomach the bull sugar. From my perspective, neither of the parties are worthy of support. Anyone involved for any length of time thinks personal first, party second, and America third. I do agree with a lot of the personal concerns you share about POTUS. I disagree with some of his methods. I don't disagree with his results. I have always been about results. Sure, I would prefer a more eloquent approach, but we are at war for the country's soul, and eloquent won't cut it.
That's right.
I have been a drain the swamp guy since long before the phrase was coined, but I do like it. If it takes a wrecking ball to the entire establishment, that would be fine with me. I regret you have fallen prey to a Democrat mindset. As a true Republican, it is even more harmful. So beyond party politics and personal disgust, support results is my motto. As a staunch defender of individual liberty, states' rights, and U.S. sovereignty, I look for results. Redirect your animosity to the Washington insiders, and we stand together. This world was moving in the direction when the New World Order shot JFK. It is why he was killed. POTUS, or someone like him, may be our last hope of an America as the leader of the free world. And without that, there is no free world. The Constitution, as it was originally intended, is a work of genius.
Absolutely.
Pure genius. Just trying to get you back on the really big picture. All is well at this end. Stay in touch.
Very good. I like that.
His response was, just a quick note. Thank God you haven't lost your reason. I was beginning to wonder. More to follow soon. Too busy to write.
I should post that on the blog.
I thought about that. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
But the point is, look at the big picture. Look at what we're up against.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or at least a point of my note back to him was, this thing is not about Donald Trump. Donald Trump will tell you that. It's not about me.
That's right.
And I truly believe he thinks that. You know,
he knows it. Yeah.
I mean, this is not exactly the most gratifying position that he's ever been in. He doesn't, you know what I'm saying? He's used to people falling all over him because he owns the building.
Right.
And that's just not happening. So, and then they pass this book. I don't know how to get through to him. I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know who's got the magic bullet. I don't think there is one. You know, I think it just takes all of us, whether we like how he does it or not, is not in question. It's not for us to decide. As long as he gets the job done.
Yeah. And he's stirring
he being
up.
the POTUS, and he's stirring it up. And he put in as that new guy. The guy, he's trying to get started, I've been remiss over the past few shows and not giving him a plug. So I'm sure he's missing our plug. What's his? I forget his last name. Rush.
Limbaugh.
What? Oh, yeah, Limbaugh. He was talking either today or the other day about basically the same sort of thing. Looking at the big picture. I just lost my train of thought. I was trying too hard to think of his name.
Yeah.
Think about this. If you won an election, and all of a sudden you were shipped off to Washington, and you had to staff an administration, where would you start? You'd start with who was recommended. You'd start
Sure.
with people that were already there, that knew their way around.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You'd start with, people that could help you kind of settle in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what he did. And as soon as he started finding out that they weren't 100% on his team, which means that they weren't 100% on our team,
Right.
Because I do feel like he's our team captain.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And as soon as he found out who these people were, they're fired. Mm-hmm. And so that was round one. And that happened very quickly, if you think back on it, relatively quickly. Well within, like the first 6 months. So now this crew right now is turning over again. And it may turn again.
That's right.
Before he really gets down to the people, all of them that work well together and, have the same true beliefs.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
But
saying?
he's doing it the right way. To get the vegetables off the bottom of the pot,
I can't
swamp, you got to stir it up a little bit.
I can't say
And
whether
he's
he's doing
stirring
it
it
right or wrong because he's at a whole different level than I am.
Oh yeah, well, true, true.
I can tell you how I agree with your analogy, with your similarity with the pot and stirring the pot, but anyway,
Yeah.
he's bitten off an awfully large job.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that Donald J. Trump realized what he was going to be faced with. And,
Probably not.
He might have had sort of an idea that it wasn't going to be real smooth sailing.
Yeah.
But the reason we're doing the historical review is this over the top anxiety and Trump derangement syndrome it's to me. It's almost comical. If it weren't such serious business,
right.
it would be comical. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
If the results weren't so, impactful on my life, which they are, then I'd have a lot better sense of humor about it. What were you going to say? Sorry, I was on a
I
rant.
lost my train of thought.
Yeah, well.
See, you did it. I do it too.
Rants will do that too.
Rant, yeah.
So we steered a little bit away from the budget, but not really. In other words,
yeah.
there's just folks,
It's the anger.
friends, neighbors, countrymen, whatever the phrase used to be. Listen up. Get involved locally. Stop this stuff before it just continues. There may not be a country for the next generation to run.
That's right.
There'll be a country, but it may not be up to them to serve and be allowed to run it, because it will be being run by the United Nations or puppets from around the world. And if you think I'm kidding, God bless you, because I'm not. And there are an awful lot of voices much larger than mine, not better, but larger, having a bigger audience, that are saying exactly the same thing. And there are a lot of people with really good voices down in the trenches that are saying the same thing. We're trying to wake up an entire generation to the danger that's ahead.
That's right.
And the vast majority of this millennial group in surveys actually prefers socialism. That's a scary thought. Do you realize do they realize what they're saying?
They don't. They don't, because they haven't been taught the basic principles. They don't really realize what they're saying. But they're jumping on the bandwagon because they don't know any better. Do your research, millennials, get out there and find out the truth.
Make you a deal. I'm gonna if the millennials that are in the audience, let's say you're a college student, you can quit going to school.
That's right.
Okay, I'll give you a C, and your walking papers.
There you go.
So what's going to happen?
That's really it's boiling down to that.
Well, it is what it's boiling down to.
Yeah.
But the top performers aren't going to like that. They're not going to like that any more than the top performers in the world today.
That's right.
Don't like that.
Right.
But the bottom of the barrel, the guy that's making an F, he's fine with that.
Sure.
So if you want to live your life completely surrounded by unproductive, lazy people taking half of your money home for them, you just keep right on going down the socialist path. Mm-hmm. Rather than try to make them productive, don't even bother, because you're all going to get a C. So there's just no point in trying to be your own person. Forget about it.
The same philosophy for everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same thinking.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Connect the dots.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine. I know that not all young people buy into that. I get it.
No, they don't.
But those of you who don't need to step up and step forward and get loud and get proud and tamp down this crap of socialism is okay. Mm-hmm. And no matter what you've been told in school that, oh, we've learned so much and we can do it better this time. There is no doing it better. Mm-hmm. There is simply doing it. Socialism is what it is. It cannot be improved. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly
the
right.
only thing you can improve about it is to get control over people faster, mm-hmm. and have greater control than you had the generation before.
Do you remember back when we were doing our early history lessons about the experiment that the Massachusetts colony when they landed?
Yes, I do remember.
Okay,
yeah.
They went at it. What was John Winthrop? I forget who the leader was. But anyway, everybody had to do something.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
But it was more like from each who can afford it to those who
can't. Right.
And they did that. And guess what? The lazy people decided, well, I don't have to go out and work the field.
No.
I'm going to get my food anyway.
Right.
Socialism, that's exactly what it is. We tried it here in America, and it failed miserably.
But
so they put in capitalism, and guess what? Everybody.
Yeah, but Bocce, think about what you're saying.
I know.
When was that?
I know. That was in 1680s.
Think of how much smarter we are
1600s.
now and how much better we could do it.
Well, see, that's the lie that they say about socialism. You're absolutely right. Oh, we can do it better than Maduro.
We've got all sorts of technology to implement socialism with. There's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's, Google.
Yeah.
Instagram.
Whatever. Socialism's already upon us, dude.
Oh, it is. It's here.
We're struggling to keep the last great hope of freedom and liberty in the entire world alive. Mm-hmm. Day by day, we're struggling just to let it have a pulse for tomorrow morning, and maybe something will change. I mean,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
If it sounds like I'm giving up, you're wrong.
You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
But I'm trying to help our young audience understand how much we need their vibrant input, and how much you will regret it if you do not.
Mm-hmm. You know what? It brings up
you will. I'm sorry to tell you this, but because we'll be gone, but we'll be looking down on you people, going, holy shit, what have we done? I don't want that to happen to you. I really don't.
I'd like to put out a challenge
Okay.
to our listeners, especially you young ones.
Okay.
If you can write an email or a short paper showing me or showing us
Yeah.
where in the world socialism has been tried that was successful. You write to me, I will take you to lunch. I promise you, I will. And if you're too far away,
You'll send them to lunch.
I'll send them to lunch.
Okay.
I'll get you a card for Applebee's or something. But that's my challenge, guys.
Folks, I'm
Get out
very
there.
good friends with Uncle Bocce. Very good friends with Uncle Bocce. You have no idea what a commitment he just made.
I know. And I've been wanting to make this. Just tonight, it came to a head for me. So
There you go.
you're challenged.
So, so the challenge is to do the research and write a report on the successful implementation of socialism.
That's correct.
A long-term successful implementation.
Yes.
I mean, you can't
Right.
be living in a commune for 90 days like
No,
we used
no,
to do.
no.
Okay.
Good.
Anywhere in the world. Good job. Real socialism.
Real socialism, yes.
Okay. Okay. By the definition of the word, which is one. What is it? One for all and all for one? No.
No, that's not it. That's
Share and share alike.
e pluribus unum, share and share alike. No, that's not it either. What is it? It escapes me too.
Everybody gets a ribbon.
Yeah, today's vernacular is everybody gets a ribbon. You're exactly right. So, okay, so you've laid down a pretty good gauntlet.
Yes, sir.
All right. How does that pull us back to the budget? What are our dots that are connected to the budget?
My budget
One
may
po-
not be able to afford your lunch.
1.3 billion, 1.3 trillion dollars over the next 6 months.
6 months.
And that's just for 6 months, folks. Mm-hmm. That's not a budget.
It's a spending
There's a reason
bill.
it's called that we used to call them an annual budget, and there was a time frame in which it had to be passed, and the government could not go forward without it. So that made them uncomfortable, and so they changed the rules, and they created these temporary spending bills. You know, they didn't call them budgets. I used the phrase at the beginning of the show, and now I've forgotten it. So, continuing resolution. It was a resolution to continue the government. Do us a favor.
I say,
Shut it down.
down. Yes.
Just shut it
Shut
down.
it all down.
Just shut it all down.
Turn it off.
Turn it off. Just go away. And we'll tell you when we need you.
That's right.
And you can come back to work. Just like any other business.
That's for sure.
We'll let you know when we're ready for your input. For now, thank you very much for your service. See ya. Shut it down.
Shut it down.
But they don't hear that. I mean, they have to keep the government open. They have nothing to do.
Texas would survive.
Texas would survive.
Yes.
And other places would too. You'd be surprised at who would survive. I don't think you'd be surprised at who would not survive.
Yeah, quite a few come to mind.
You know what I mean?
California, New York.
There you go. Democrat strongholds. All. The rest of us would be just fine. Budgets and bull sugar. Remember that.
That's
Start
right.
it at a local level. Start to draw the noose at your front row. Time to go. You have been listening to the Doc Owen Show. Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it. Now go out there this week and take care, pay attention, and God bless.
Bye-bye, folks. God bless.